This is a core pillar of the system. The system's grand strategy is premised on three principles. First is anti-Americanism. Second is the eradication of Israel. And third is the export of the Islamic Revolution. Those pillars are not going to change. The Islamic Republic has no interest in a better relationship with the United States. It's not going to change its view of Israel as long as there's a like-minded successor in Ali Khamenei's chair. And that's the reality. There are no happy endings, sadly, with this regime in power, given its ideology. Yes, it does sometimes offer temporary concessions to survive, but that doesn't mean they're changing their ideology. They're not. They're viewing temporary concessions like limited constraints on its nuclear program as a way to survive and preserve those grand pillars, not compromise on those grand pillars.
Who is going to be Iran's new supreme leader? And are they going to be worse than Ali Khamenei?
Well, it's great to be with you. Thanks for having me, Dominic. I think that, first of all, Iran is being ruled right now by a triumvirate interim leadership council comprised of the president of Iran, the chief justice of Iran, and a member of its guardian council, Ali Reza Arafi. Now, there are many candidates who can succeed Ali Khamenei. The Islamic Republic does have a number to choose from. It seems, based on the public reporting of recent days, that Mojtaba Khamenei, the son of Iran's regime's former Supreme Leader Ali Khamenei, has a leg up in this process. But until there's an official announcement, I would urge some caution, because I think you have various factions in the Islamic Republic trying to promote their preferred candidate. But we should not underestimate Mojtaba Khamenei. He has long been a shadowy figure in his father's office. He's effectively run this office of the Supreme Leader for many years. He has liaised with the security services, the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps and the Basij especially, and has been complicit in horrific human rights abuses over the years. And Mojtaba has his own patronage network as well, called the Habib Circle, a group of members of the security services and armed forces who have connections with him dating back years, all the way back to the Iran-Iraq War. And so he's created a power base for himself within his father's office. And he's been one of the most influential actors in the Islamic Republic. But despite all of that deep state experience that he has, he does not have an extensive public profile. He's been pictured at state occasions, at parades like for Quds Day and for the anniversary of the Islamic Revolution, but he's never been a feature on state TV, has not really given many public addresses. The first video of him speaking only surfaced a couple of years ago. So he's been really an actor behind the scenes, and purposefully so, to avoid any kind of political scrutiny. So Mojtaba Khamenei is definitely a candidate. But he does have some weaknesses in the sense that he has a bloodstained record, of course, and the Iranian people who are protesting especially will not accept him at all. They hate him. There have already been chants, "Death to Mojtaba," at night in Tehran. But among the clerical elite, Mojtaba does have some other weaknesses in the fact that there will be an impression, if he becomes supreme leader, that there's a hereditary monarchy in Iran. And that is what the Islamic Revolution overthrew in 1979. So if he becomes supreme leader, there will automatically be comparisons to the Pahlavi era and what happened and why the Islamic Republic was founded. So that is a weakness that Mojtaba, and a roadblock that he has. He also has another roadblock in the sense that not every person in the system accepts Mojtaba. There has been some controversy that he has developed over the years in the fact that there's resentment among some factions of the IRGC that he has inserted himself to the degree he has in state business when his father was alive. So he has made enemies within the Iranian system, despite him being his father's son. Nevertheless, I think that we're in a different moment right now. And symbolism and mythology is important in the Islamic Republic, myth-making especially. And his father, if you recall, some of your listeners may recall, survived an assassination attempt in 1981. and he injured one of his hands in the aftermath of that. And he was considered a living martyr after that incident. And that helped propel Ali Khamenei's political career. He became president soon after that, and then he became supreme leader later on. So Moshtaba surviving the U.S.-Israeli strikes will contribute to that myth-making and that symbolism that his father had, and he could be considered a living martyr in that way. Because think about it, his father died, his mother died, his wife died, his sister died, and other family members have died in that strike on the Iranian leadership compound in the opening days of Operation Epic Fury, but he survived. He may not have been at the compound at the time. There are conflicting reports as to exactly his whereabouts, but the fact that his very survival will propel him in that symbolism. So that's Moshtaba.
The hatred the Iranian people will feel towards him, where does that stem from in terms of the human rights element and the blood-stained history that he has?
He's been involved in crackdowns for many, many years. In 2009, he was seen as intervening in his father's office on behalf of Mahmoud Ahmadinejad, in his re-election bid in 2009. That was when the Green Movement took place, and that engendered a lot of criticism of Moshtaba. So it dates back years, really, and his relationships with the most radical actors and radical currents in the Iranian regime definitely will make him a persona non grata for the Iranian people protesting, and he will be a deeply unpopular supreme leader.
There's reports that he came to the UK for treatment over impotency. Do you have any more details on that?
Yeah, that had circulated in some intelligence documents, and it raises a lot of questions as to why the UK was welcoming a son of Iran's supreme leader at the time to receive treatment there. And I think that's, if it did happen, that's a more of an indictment on UK policy than anything else, because if only the Iranian people who have been injured and murdered and harmed by the Iranian system had the ability to access UK healthcare, while his son comfortably was in London receiving treatment. So that is definitely that split screen is not going to really make the UK government popular with the Iranian people who have been protesting. Nevertheless, I think it's worth asking the UK government if, in fact, it did happen. They will know if it happened because they had to grant him a visa. Moshtaba, that visit, it's interesting because Moshtaba has had also financial interests throughout Europe, including in the UK. And so he has had a connection to the UK in many respects for years. There was, I think, a bank account also that the UK had closed a number of years ago that Moshtaba had interest in. So there is a connection and an nexus to the UK. It's an unfortunate one, and I think that the public should be demanding some answers from the UK government as to how this has gone on for so long.
How certain are we that Moshtaba is alive right now?
Moshtaba there have been a few public reports in Iranian state media. Mehr News Agency claimed he was alive. There have been statements of condolence from members of the Iranian Assembly of Experts that have referenced Mojtaba's survival. There was a report in Reuters today citing an Iranian source that Moshtaba was actually not in Tehran at the time of the Israeli strike on the Iranian leadership compound at the opening of Operation Epic Fury. So those are strong indications that he may have survived this round of conflict thus far. But make no mistake, I do suspect Moshtaba will be a top target for Israel and the United States.
On that point, how is that going to work for Iran? That succession, I mean, won't he just be blown up straight away?
Well, I think that you raise an important point because I think in the back of the minds of the Iranian leadership is what happened to the late Hezbollah Secretary General Hassan Nasrallah in 2024 when Israel eliminated him. After Israel eliminated him, you'll recall that soon after his expected successor, Hashim Safieddin, was also taken out by Israel. And so I think there's going to be two overriding variables that the Iranian system is going to be weighing in succession. First of all, is a security risk in announcing the successor publicly right now during wartime. And also, there's another variable, which is the Islamic Republic wants to showcase to the world that it's surviving and it's continuing. And survival is a very important equity in the Islamic Republic's decision making. So they're going to trying to weigh the security risks against the need to elevate someone publicly sooner rather than later. And that's why we're seeing some of the maneuvering around Khamenei's funeral. There was supposed to be a funeral starting on Wednesday evening, and then it was postponed. And, there were some comments by Ahmad Khatami, who's a member of the Assembly of Experts, saying that we will announce a leader as soon as at the earliest opportunity, but there are wartime conditions. He acknowledged that. So I think there's some sensitivity there within the Assembly of Experts and other Iranian security officials as to so publicly promoting the line of succession. And this is why that triumvirate interim leadership council's work can extend for longer than was previously expected. If we look at the first transition of the Islamic Republic in 1979, that occurred relatively smoothly and relatively quickly. Now, there's an interim leadership council in wartime in the 2026 succession, and we're in a very different context now. Where Ruhollah Khomeini died of natural causes, Ali Khamenei died by force. So this is a very different situation, an unprecedented one, and so I think the Iranian leadership will be proceeding carefully. But I should note that there are other players and clerics who could become the next supreme leader. Even putting Moshtaba aside for a second, there are two clerics on the leadership council that were just formed. The Chief Justice, Gholam Hossein Mohseni-Ejei, is a brutal, blood-stained actor in the Iranian system. He once bit a reporter, and he bragged about it on his state biography. He's notorious. Hangings have occurred at a record high during his tenure as Chief Justice. He's a former intelligence minister, and so he's a real product of the Iranian military, security, and clerical establishment. And he's been a member of the Supreme National Security Council for many years, and so has exposure to these crucial national security decisions. He's one potential other candidate. Another potential candidate, as I mentioned earlier, is Alireza Arafi, who's a member of the Guardian Council and also the Interim Leadership Council. He's different from Gholam Hossein Mohseni-Ejei in the sense that Alireza Arafi is more of a religious, educational, and cultural cleric who has been head of Iran's seminary, a member of the Guardian Council, the head of the Al-Mustafa International University, and he's definitely steeped in Khomeini's thinking, but he does not have the exposure to the military security establishment's decision-making that Gholam Hossein Mohseni-Ejei and Moshtaba Khamenei have had throughout their careers. So that's a weakness there. And I should also note, Gholam Hossein Mohseni-Ejei and Alireza Arafi are not Sayyids. So they wear a white turban, and Moshtaba wears a black turban, and his father wears a black turban. And that's important also in succession. So those are some weaknesses in the latter two's candidacies. Some, I would say, some more distant candidates or prospects are, Hassan Khomeini, the grandson of the founder of the Islamic Republic, Ruhollah Khomeini, his brother Ali Khomeini. And so, Hassan Khomeini especially is associated with the more pragmatic currents, but we're in a very different environment right now. This has totally scrambled Iranian politics. And, Hassan Khomeini has in the past hinted at the need for a nuclear deterrent, meaning a nuclear weapon. So despite the quote pragmatism, he does have, he's fully indoctrinated in that Khomeiniist ideology.
Who do you think Donald Trump will want to succeed in Iran?
I think the United States should want there to be complete regime change in Iran. I don't think that any of these clerics the U.S. should be hoping for any of these clerics. These are actors who are fundamentally anti-American and anti-Israel, and they will adhere to the same Khomeiniist ideology that Ali Khamenei propagated and lived on for many years. So I don't think that there are any good choices within this current system.
How are the US going to play this, do you think? How will they bring about the next power structure, do you believe, in Iran?
Well, I think that the goal is to degrade and destroy as much of the Islamic Republic's threatening capabilities as the United States and Israel can, from its nuclear program, its missile program, its drone program, its military leadership. So I think that that is the overriding goal here. And in the process, that could create the conditions for an eventual regime change. But that's going to take a long time. It's not going to happen overnight. I think that a secondary goal of the operation may be to really level the playing field between the Iranian people who have been protesting and the state, which is highly armed. They're unarmed, and the state is highly armed. So that might be part of the calculation there.
How ready is Iran to rise up in terms of the people? Are they strong enough? Are they organized enough?
Well, I think that the Iranian people are motivated. They want this regime gone, but the challenge is they are unarmed and the state is heavily armed, and the also the lack of organization has been an issue in the Western capitals in the sense that they don't know who they can deal with. But on the ground in Iran, among this current this element who is protesting, but if you speak with Iranians, they will say, well, the lack of public organization is a strength because we're not identifying leaders on the ground in Iran who could be arrested or killed by the regime. So many Iranians view that as a strength. Where some Western leaders, from their vantage point, may view it as a weakness.
So 48 other senior regime officials have been wiped out. Can the Islamic Republic's core structure actually survive this?
The Islamic Republic is built for surviving decapitations. So there are successors designated in a multiple array of roles. For example, the commander-in-chief of the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps, Mohammad Pakpour, was one of those killed in the opening strikes. He was soon replaced by Ahmad Vahidi, who is a very blood-stained actor and has been involved in some of the worst abuses of the Iranian system. Especially, he was the former head of the Quds Force and is subject to a red notice from Interpol for his role in the bombing of the Amia Jewish Community Center in Buenos Aires in 1994. Ahmad Vahidi also was interior minister and presided over the crackdown on the Masa Amini protests in 2022, and he's been sanctioned for that. So he is a notorious figure, and there are no shortage of notorious figures in the Iranian system, sadly, for the regime to choose from to take over leadership decapitations. So while the leadership decapitations do result in a short-term bureaucratic scrambling, and there are enough people on the scene in the near term to take over, but it depends on how long this goes and how deep the U.S. and Israel aim in their targeting.
The IDF claims to be systematically dismantling nuclear infrastructure. Are we now beyond the risk of Iran pulling out a dirty bomb?
I think that Iran's nuclear enrichment program, as it existed before the Midnight Hammer operation last year, is no longer in existence. And so I'm sure U.S. and Israel have eyes on this. But that enrichment capability has been effectively destroyed for the time being. Now, I think that the U.S. and Israel will try to aim for sites that were not targeted on the nuclear front in the Operation Midnight Hammer last year, like Pickaxe Mountain, for example. I think that the nuclear program will continue to be a target in Operation Epic Fury.
We've seen the Middle East erupt into chaos. Is the worst still yet to come?
I think this is going to go on for some time. There will be an ongoing volley. I think the United States and Israel want to get to a point where they feel that they have degraded the Islamic Republic enough to result in the ideal conditions where the balance of power in the region can adhere in U.S. and Israeli favor. And so I think that this is going to go on for a period of time. And I think the president has been trying to prepare the American people for that. He has said that, sadly, we will lose Americans during this conflict. And that's a product of the lethal nature of the Iranian regime and the fact that their viewing this as a fight for survival, and so they're throwing everything that they have and seeing what sticks. So that's why we see them lashing out around the region. The Iranian regime's strategy is one of asymmetric endurance. So it's trying to expand the geography of the conflict, to draw in as many countries as possible, and in order to pressure them, to pressure the United States to cut this short, to increase the political, economic, and military pressure on the United States. But so far, I think President Trump is prepared for a longer conflict than many people realize.
Could we see Iran's proxies get more involved and unleash more attacks?
I think they're already preparing to get involved. Hezbollah, the Houthis are preparing to get involved, the Iraqi Shia militias as well. So Iran does still have those capabilities. I think that is something to watch in the days ahead.
Can you talk about the divide between the clerical and the sort of more modern side of Iran, so the rural areas and the cities? Because looking back at 1979, there was that clear divide. Is that still very much the case?
I don't think as much anymore. I think the Islamic Republic has shed so much of its core support that even in rural areas, more conservative areas, there have been significant protests in conservative cities like Qom and Mashhad. There have been significant protests, especially in December and January. So the Islamic Republic has been rapidly losing core constituencies for a long time now, and this is only going to accelerate it.
What do you expect to see from Europe over the coming few days and weeks?
Well, I think that there was a drone strike on a British airbase in Cyprus, and that is very dangerous for the Islamic Republic because UK is a member of NATO, drawing in all of these countries, the Islamic Republic may be sealing its demise because it's so isolated right now. Russia and China are not coming to the assistance of Iran and defending them militarily. Russia and China may offer political support, but they've been rather mute lately, and that's been really telling. There are people who have viewed any U.S. strike on Iran as producing World War III. No, that's not the case because let's recall, Russia has a strategic partnership agreement with Iran that doesn't include a mutual defense clause. China is not going to also get involved in defending Iran in this conflict because China has other interests in the region, like with Saudi Arabia and UAE. And so China and Russia are not, and so is Russia. And so they're not going to go all in to defend this system. And so the Iranian regime is rather isolated.